Good morning. Bienvenuto. Buenos dias, mijos. Guten Tag. Und willkommen. Salam alaikum. Shalom and aloha. Glad to be with you again. I hope you're all safe and secure this coronavirus lockdown. Things are going well for me. Everything's fine. Just wanted to catch up with you and make sure that you are on target with your work. And I wanted to share with you today a little bit about the whole lifetime process of reading. That's the big picture. Now, when I first started looking at books as something very, very important, I think it was because of my teachers. And so I want to kind of share that with you. The very first book I ever read that was really, really hard was this book right here. It's called Joseph and His Brothers by Thomas Mann. It's a huge book. And when a teacher gave it to me, I don't think he really thought I was going to read it. But I started. And you see, the story of Joseph and his brothers in the Bible it's a short story. It's only 13 chapters long. Thomas Mann took those 13 chapters and put detail into it and characterization. We find out so much about the history of Joseph's time, but also Thomas Mann creates brand new depth to these very ancient characters. And when I started reading it, I was blown away. Because it wasn't like all the other books that I had been reading. It was a whole new level of book. And it challenged me. Now, I was only in high school, but that was a very important moment for me because it showed me that what I had been reading up to that point was good. Lots of quality stuff. But here was a book that was at my ability, right at the very top of my ability to understand what was going on and to appreciate what was happening. Now, that can be exhausting. Some books are just exhausting because they are so difficult. But when you stretch your brain to inhabit one of these books, when you stretch your brain that far, it's funny because your brain can't go back to the old size. It's going to stay bigger. It's going to stay stretched out. And that's a really good feeling. And I think it helps you grow. That's part of growth, is getting bigger. Now, in college, I had a teacher who introduced me to a new writer. I had never read him in high school. And this writer was John Milton. And I read his book, Paradise Lost. And I got the exact same feeling again. That feeling that I was reading something that was way beyond what I had been reading before. It was bigger than Thomas Mann's book. Now, it wasn't bigger in terms of size. Look at the book. No, it wasn't bigger in size. It was bigger in scope, in what the author was trying to do. It was immense. And that was important to me. And John Milton became one of my favorite writers. I really, really enjoyed reading his works. Now, the opposite end of that is books that you read because they make you feel good. Now, I have a couple of examples of that. Here's one of my favorite writers. His name is Steve Martin. People usually think of him as a comedian, or maybe a musician, or maybe even an art collector. The guy's good at everything. But he wrote this play called Picasso at the Le Pan Agile. It's a play. It's all about Einstein, the greatest mind of the 20th century, goes into this bar called the Le Panagile in France. And Picasso goes into this bar. On the same night, these two great minds meet. It's wonderful because Steve Martin doesn't take it too seriously. He's going to have fun with this amazing event. Now, this never really happened. Einstein never met Picasso. But what if they did? That's the amazing thing about this play. It tries to imagine what would happen if Picasso met Einstein. Now, I'm going to read to you a little part of this, just one little paragraph. This part right here is where Picasso is talking to Einstein. And Picasso says, he's trying to describe how he creates art. And Picasso says, the pencil pokes into the future and sucks up ideas and transfers them into the paper. For Christ's sake. And what the hell do you know about it anyway? You're a scientist. You just want theories. And Einstein answers and says, yes. And like you, the theories must be beautiful. You know why the sun doesn't revolve around the earth? Because the idea is not beautiful enough. If you're trying to prove that the sun revolves around the earth, in order to make the theory fit the facts, you have to have the planets moving backwards and the sun doing loop-de-loops. It's too ugly. Way ugly. Picasso says, so you're saying you bring a beautiful idea into being? And Einstein says, yes. We create a system and see if the facts fit it. So you're not just describing the world as it is. No, we are creating a new way of looking at the world. Now, you see, I love that. It's fun. It's interesting. It gets my brain thinking a little bit. I like that stuff. Now, just for fun, here's the bookmark that I've got in my Picasso at Le Panagile. It's a Hogwarts bookmark. And in case any of you are wondering, I'm from the Ravenclaw house. So we got that. Now, some of what we read is just garbage. Some of what we read is popcorn. I like popcorn. Popcorn has no nutritional value. It's just fun to eat. This is my favorite popcorn. It's a trilogy of books written by an author named George Alec Effinger. And he's a good writer, but he writes popcorn. His first book in this trilogy was When Gravity Fails. And it's all about this young man who's not very nice. He's got all these weird things in his head that he can take computer chips and plug them into his head and get new personalities and have new skills like Neo in the Matrix. And you know what? It's adventure, it's exciting, it's fun. I love it. Now, some books are too difficult. Let me give you an example. I can't show you the example, and I'll explain why. One of the books that I read last summer is Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon. Now, when I was in college, I had a professor who I really, really enjoyed, and he said to me that Gravity's Rainbow is the most important science fiction novel written in the 20th century. Well, I love science fiction. I love fantasy. I love science fiction. That's my wheelhouse. And so I picked up the copy of the book at the library, brought it home, and I read the first chapter. That's a lie. I tried to read the first chapter. I got about halfway through it, and I realized I wasn't getting any of it. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't figure out why this was a great book. Now, my professor said it was a great book, but it was too hard for me. I set myself a goal. I was going to finish that book. Now, every summer since I was 18 years old, I tried to read that book. Only in the summer, because I needed my brain to work at 100% efficiency. Couldn't do it while I was doing school. So every summer I'd pick up that book and I'd try to read it. And one year I'd get about a chapter and a half. Next year I might only get a few pages. I couldn't read it. I couldn't read it. Last summer, I finished the book. Now, I can't show you a copy of the book because I read it on Kindle. I don't think that has anything to do with whether I finished it or not. But I was finally, at the age of 59, I was able to finish the book. And I appreciated it. I understood what the writer was writing. I finally understood his big picture, the message he wanted to convey. And it made sense to me. Now, I'm thinking, 41 years? 41 years to finish a book. I don't know if that's a record or not, but it's a record for me. You see, when you pick up a book and you start to read, if you find out it's garbage and you're not enjoying it, throw it away. Don't read it. If you're reading a book and you find that it speaks to you and it has something important to say to you, that's good. Now, if you read a book and you just get lost and you're inside the book and you're enjoying it and it's an adventure and you don't even realize how much you've read by the time you're done, that's wonderful. That's good. It's not going to stretch you, but it's good. It's important to have popcorn. It's important to have comfort food like mac and cheese. It's important to have lobster and caviar. Something really great and wonderful. You don't have it very often, but you enjoy it when you do, and you know it's something special. And it's important to have those meals that are so special. They're memories for a lifetime. They're the Kobe beef hamburger I had in Santa Barbara once. That was so amazing. I can't describe it. It was just incredible. I can't tell you how incredible it was. It was just incredible. No words to describe it. It was beef made in heaven. And so it's important to have different experiences when you're reading books. Now, I know what you're thinking. When you are assigned a book to read, it's hard to enjoy it. Now, if you picked it up one summer and you were reading at the beach, you might enjoy that book. But because it's an assignment and you have to do certain reading assignments and you have to do certain writing assignments along with it, that kind of spoils the enjoyment. And it's hard to enjoy popcorn when you have to eat the popcorn. When they force you to eat the popcorn and you're not in the mood. That's difficult. It's challenging. School is challenging. And there's no way to get around that. I hope you're enjoying the book that you're reading that you chose on your own. If it's a hard book that you chose because it was going to be challenging, good for you. Good for you. If it was a popcorn book, that's fine. I'm not going to complain about it. I don't really want you to stress out about your homework assignment right now. We got enough to be stressed about. And that's not something that I need to add to your life. This is the last week. So you're probably of the reading assignment. So you're probably at the end of your novel, and we're going to be moving on to something new. Now, this next thing that we're moving on to, the whole class is going to be reading the exact same thing. And I'll be able to talk more specifically about that one specific work. Now, don't jump the gun. You don't have to go there yet. Finish up what you're doing, and we'll see what happens next. But I'll give you a little clue. The next book that you're going to look at is one of the most important novellas. I mean, it's a short novel. One of the most important novellas written in the 20th century. It changed people. It was as important as Picasso's Guernica. It was as important as Einstein's theory of relativity. It was as important as the political movements that happened during the 20th century. We're talking about the authoritarianism that occurred, the advent of revolutions that led to communism. It's as important as that. It's art that made a huge difference. Now, I hope that whets your appetite for something new, and I'll get you started on that at the end of the week. Don't rush things. Don't worry about having to get on. Just keep plugging along, doing the best you can. And one last comment. The Kern High School District has decided in its wisdom to turn second semester into a pass-fail course. Now, you've never had a pass-fail course. I'll tell you a little secret. There are universities that are run on nothing but pass-fail. That's kind of strange. And these aren't universities at the bottom of the barrel. These are upper tier universities. The reason why pass-fail works is because students at a university, they don't have to worry about what their grade is. They just have to worry. I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. They just have to consider, what am I learning? If they learn the essential truths, they pass. They don't have to worry about, is my MLA correct? That's something that if you're a good student, you're going to do because you're a good student. With a pass-fail course, what you're supposed to think about and consider is, am I understanding the big picture? And that's where the keys are. Not in the itty-bitty assignments that make work, the paperwork. It's all about, do I understand? Hopefully, we can adjust to this new paradigm, this new way of thinking. I'm happy that we're going to this because I think it'll cut down, it'll reduce the stress. And I know that you, because you are excellent students, and I miss you terribly. I just miss you so much. I know certainly that you will all do excellently at this. You will have a wonderful time, and I'm sure that you will have great successes. So until next week, stay safe, be calm, and take care of each other.